We begin today the Gemara on Daf Tezayin Amud Beis. We're starting where it says Kikoru Shucha. First word on the line is Behen. The Gemara here was explaining what it said in the Mishnah. The Mishnah said Min Ha'aliyah, that you pay Nezek Shalem and you pay Min Ha'aliyah, and the Gemara brought the source of this, what this expression Min Ha'aliyah means, and it brought it by the Kvura of Chizkiyahu. And there it was a machlokes between Rabbi Lazar and Rab Shmuel bar Nachmani, what the pshat of the pasuk there is. So it brings here another pasuk where there's also an argument between Rabbi Lazar and Rab Shmuel bar Nachmani. It's a different pasuk, there's no connection, but it's the same Amirayim that are arguing. So the pasuk says, this is actually Yirmiyah speaking. Kikaru shucha l'lachdeini, they dug a pit I should be trapped in this pit, upachim tomnu l'raglei, and they put a stumbling block that I should strip with my feet. And the people that were trying to cause Yirmiyah to have a downfall. So what does this mean? What did they do to him? Rabbi Lazar says, Shechashdu mizayna. They suspected him of having a relation with a zayna. That's what they went around saying. Rav Shmuel bar Nachmani Amar, Shechashdu me'eshesish. That they suspected him that he had a relation with an eshesish. Says the Gemara Bishlam Lamandama Shechashdu mizayna. It's understood according to the opinion that says that they suspected him of a relation with a zayna. So Haina D'chsiv, we could see that the expression of the pasuk here, Karu Shucha. So there's another pasuk where it says Kishucha Amuka. What's a deep pit? A zayna. So over here as well, Karu Shucha means a zayna. But the opinion that says that he was suspected of being an Eshesish, my Shucha. What is the meaning of Shucha here? If we see that Shucha means a zayna, and says the Gemara, Oto Eshesish mi nafke meklal zayna. If she's an Eishes, is she not a Zayna? She's an Eishes, she's a Zayna plus. She's a Zayna and an Eishes, so it could still be referring to an Eishes. Now the Gemara asks the question in the reverse, that the opinion that says that they were saying that he had a relation with a Zayna is problematic. It's understood the opinion that says that they were suspecting him of having a relation with an Eishes. This is what the pasuk says when Yirmiyah was complaining. So he said, "Va'ata Hashem yadaita es kol atzasam alai." You know what these people, the plans that they're devising against me, lamos, that I should die. So why? How do they want to bring him to die? Because if he's suspected of having a relation with Neshesish, so he's chayiv misa. But the opinion that says that he was suspected of having a relation just with a zayna, which is a single girl, not einish of misa, my lamos. What does it mean that they wanted to kill me? And says the Gemara, Sheheshlichuhu lebe'ertit. It's a separate thing. That they threw him into a pit which had cement in it, and they wanted to kill him there. It's a separate thing. That's what that pasuk is talking about. Darash Rave Darshan, Mai D'chsiv. What is the meaning of the pasuk where it says, Yiyu? This is also by Yirmiyah there. Yirmiyah davens to the Eibishter about those people that were trying to bring his downfall. That they should be stumbling in front of you in your time of your anger. I say behem, you should do this for them. So what is this pasuk saying here? Yirmiyah says to Hashem, Ribono shel olam, Master of the universe, these people that are bothering me and want me to die, even when they do tzedakah, hachshilam b'bnei adam she'einam mu'ganim. You should cause them to stumble, and they should give tzedakah to people that do not deserve to get the tzedakah. So they shouldn't get reward for the mitzvah that they did, so that they should be punished for what they're doing to me. That's this piece of Gemara here about Yirmiyah. Now the Gemara comes back to the psukim that are brought before, where it spoke about when Chizkiyahu Melech passed away. He was buried there with David and Shlomo. So here it brings another pasuk where it speaks about what happened when he passed away. The Kovid also b'maiseh, and they did a special honor for him when he passed away. What does this mean? Melamed shayeshiva yeshiva al kivrei. They established a yeshiva by his kever to sit and learn Torah there. Pliga bar Rab Nosson v'Rabbanan. Rab Nosson and Rabbanan argue about this. For how long did they have the yeshiva there? Chadam Shloisha, one says for 3 days. Chadam Shiva, another opinion is for 7 days. V'amri la shloishim. A third opinion is that they had a yeshiva there for 30 days. And another brayso we learned another pshat in the pasuk. The kavod asalei b'maiseh. The honor they did him when he passed away was that Zechizkiah Melech Yehuda, sheyatzu lefanov shloishim v'shisha elef chalutze kosef. that when he passed away, so there were 36,000 Yidden that tore their garments, and the Chalutze Kasef means, and their shoulders were showing from their torn garments. That was a special honor that they did them. Divrei Rabbi Yehuda, that's what Rabbi Yehuda says. And that's learned from what it says there, Kavod Osu Loi. Loi is 36, Gematria 36, and it means these 36,000 Yidden. Omelei Rab Nechemia says on this pshat, that's not something unique. Even when Achav passed away, so he also, there was a huge hesped, Gemara describes it in Megillah, and over there also, there was many people that came in front of him, and that was similar to what it says over here. So this wasn't unique for Chizkiah Melech. So Ella, rather, Nehemiah says what was unique over here is, Sheinicha Sefer Torah al Mitasei. They placed the Sefer Torah on his coffin, V'amru, and they said, Kiyem zeh mashakasu b'zeh. This person, Chizkiah Melech, fulfilled what it says in the Torah. So the Gemara asks on this as well, is that so unique? We see today also that when a great person passes away, they bring out a Sefer Torah by his Levaya. So the Gemara gives a few answers to say what was unique by Chizkiah. One pshat is afukim afkinon. Even if we bring out a Sefer Torah by a Levaya to make the point that he fulfilled what it says in it, but anucha lo manchinon. You don't place it on the actual coffin of the mace. Taisus actually over here says that be'emes it's a issa to do such a kind of thing. And only by Chizkiah, which was such a great person in Torah and Ma'asim Tovim, to an unusual degree, so this was allowed. But usually such a thing is not allowed, b'chlal. Another pshat is anuchinami manchinon. It's even possible that by other great people, not only Chizkiah, you can place the Sefer Torah on the mittah. But still, kiyem lo yamrinan. To make this announcement that he fulfilled exactly what it says in the Torah, that they said only by Chizkiah. Another pshat the Gemara brings, and the Gemara says when this pshat was said, Omer Rava Bava Kama, I was going together with Rabbi Yechanan Lemishal Shmaita to ask him a question about this thing. Ki hava ayla beis hakisei, and he was going to relieve himself in the beis hakisei. V'hava be'inna minei milsa, and I asked him this question about this pshat here. Lo pashat lon, and he didn't answer ad demoshi yodei till he came out and he washed his hands, and then a monach tefillin. He put on tefillin and mevarich, he made a bracha, and v'hada amalon, and then he answered what was unique for the covet that they did by Yirmiyah was that afilikiyim amrinan, that by anybody, by any other great person that passes away, it could be they bring a Sefer Torah, and could be they'll even announce that he fulfilled what it says in the Sefer Torah, but limeid lo yamrinan, to announce and say that he taught this Torah to everybody, that they don't announce by anybody, and that's something that they announced only by Chizkiah Melech. But the Gemara asks on this, is that something that's great, even more than Kiyim? You're saying that by everybody else they announce that he fulfilled the Torah. But what's unique over here is that he taught the Torah. But v'amar gadol limud or gadol talmud Torah shahalimud mevelu de ma'aseh. What's the greatness of Torah? The whole greatness of learning Torah is because learning Torah brings to action. So Rashi learns the pshat in the Gemara is what you see from this statement itself is that really ma'aseh is greater. So if by everybody else they were announcing that he was Mekayim, what it says in the Torah, so that's even actually greater than what they announced by Chizkiah Melech that he learned and he taught the Torah. It's Rashi's pshat. Taisva says that it's impossible to fulfill without learning. So if you're announcing by everybody else that he fulfilled, it must be that they learned also. So it's not less than what they're announcing by Chizkiah Melech. Here, this Rashi, this is a famous Rashi, because here you see, this is the Gemara in Kiddushin that says that the Gemara has a discussion if Talmud is greater or Maisa is greater, and the Gemara's conclusion is that Talmud is greater. But right here, the Gemara and the way Rashi learns it is, but this itself that we say that Talmud is greater, it's all for Maisa, because really Maisa, Rashi says Maisa Odif. That's even Bizman Hazeh. In Chassidus it brings down that La'asad Lavai, it'll be Nizgala, that Maisa is really greater. Elamai Bizman Hazeh, the greatness of Maisa is in Talmud, through Talmud. Well, La'asad Lavai will see the greatness of Maisa itself. So the Gemara answers, what was unique of what they announced when Chizkiah Melech passed away? The difference is, loikashya, ho lemigma. This is that to learn Torah. So to learn Torah for yourself, so for that Maisa is actually greater. But holag muri, however, one that teaches Torah to others, that's greater than Maisa. Because you're teaching everybody else that will be able to do be Mekayim Torah mitzvahs, that's actually greater than learning for yourself, than Maisa. Sagt the Gemara, Amar Rab Yechane, Mishum Rab Shimon ben Yochai. Rab Yechane said in the name of Rab Shimon ben Yochai. Mai dechsev. What's the meaning of the pasuk where it says? This is a pasuk that was brought earlier in the Masechta here, the source of Shem V'Regal, the meaning of the pasuk there. That the Gemara brought this in the beginning of the Masechta. So it says this is actually a pasuk which is a nevuah on La'asad Lavai. Ashreichem Zoria Kalmayim La'asad Lavai. Yidden are going to be in Eretz Yisrael, and wherever Yidden are going to plant, they're going to have enough water there. You're going to send the ox and the donkey to go out into the field. There's going to be a lot for them to eat from. That's a simple pshat of the pasuk. The Gemara Darshans, Rav Shimon Yochai Darshans, this is as follows. That we learn from here, one that occupies himself with learning Torah and acts of kindness, Gemilas Chasadim, Zoiche lenachlas shnei shvatim. He inherits, he'll have the merit to inherit the inheritance of 2 shvatim. And the Gemara explains this how we see this in this pasuk. Shanema ashreichem zoirei. When it says that you are fortunate that you plant, what does planting mean? Ve'ein zriya el tzedakah. Planting means that you plant tzedakah. Shanema, as it says in another pasuk, zaru lechem litzdakah v'kitzru lefi chesed. So you see over here the expression of planting, that you plant tzedakah. Ve'ein mayim el teireh. Mayim means teireh. Why? Shanema haykol tzama l'chul mayim. That one that's thirsty should go and quench his thirst with drinking water, which is teireh. So that's the beginning of the pasuk where it says Ashreichem Zoria Kol Mayim. That's tzedakah and teireh. And then we learn from here that v'zeichel lenachlas shnei shvatim, that you'll be zeichel to the inheritance of 2 shvatim. What are the 2 shvatim here that you see hinted in this pasuk? So it says Shal Cheregel Asher v'Chamer. The Eibusher will give you Sher and Chamer, which hints to 2 shvatim, Yosef and Yisachar, as the Gemara here says. Zeichel lekila ki Yosef. You'll be zeichel to a kila, which is like you see by Yosef. What's a kila? So one pshat of kila means that you'll have grace like Yosef. Another pshat is the Marsha says kila means children like Yosef. The pasuk says Ben Peiris Yosef Benois Tzada Alei Shur, that the girls went up on a wall to see Yosef. He had a tremendous chen, a tremendous grace. That's Alei Shur. So this is Shur. That's the hint of here, the pasuk of the Shur. And also v'zeichel lenachlas Yisachar, you'll get the inheritance of Yisachar. The chsiv Yisachar Chamoy got it. The inheritance of Yisachar, he's compared to a chamoy, a donkey, which is mentioned here in the pasuk. And Rashi says, what's the Gemara referring to when it says chamoy gadem? The Targum on chamoy gadem says otu b'nichsin, that you'll be rich with a lot of money. Is the Amri, another pshat is oivav neiflum of ki Yosef. The comparison to Yosef is that your enemies will fall to you like by Yosef. The chsiv be'em amim yenagach achtav afsei oretz. This is the by Yosef that all the enemies will fall down. And you'll be zeiche to wisdom, to understanding, like it says by Yisachar, the chsiv, ubnei Yisachar, yede bina leitim. They're the ones that know wisdom, and ladas mayasel Yisrael, to know, to advise all Yidden to know what to do. That's what you zeiche through Torah and Gemilas Chasadim. Adron aloch arba of this. This is the conclusion of the first Perek of Masechta Bava Kama. Okay, the next Perek here, the first Mishnah, begins with explaining the Mishnah that we had before in Daf Tezvav Amud Beis, where it mentioned Chamisha Tamin, Chamisha Muadin, and in that Mishnah it mentioned regarding the Nezek of Shem V'Regel. Hashem Muedes Lechlas Haroilo, Haregel Muedes Lishba B'der Chilucha. So in continuation to that, this Mishnah begins to explain the Nezek of Regel, and in the next Mishnah we'll learn about the Nezek of Shein. It's going to go into the details of the Ovis Nezikin. Sagt der Heilige Mishneh, Keitzad haregel muedes. How are the feet of the animal muedes? That this is something which is usual for an animal to trample and damage. Again, Keitzad haregel muedes l'shaber b'derech hilucha. How is the animal muedes to break while it goes? So how is that? Habeheme muedes lahalach kedarko l'shaber. The beheme, it's mued when it walks on its way, it tramples and it breaks. The Gemara will explain here. These 2 lines in the Mishnah seem to be redundant. It starts with asking Keitzad haragel, what exactly, how does the animal trample? And it just answers and says Habeim Muedes, which is repeating the same thing. It doesn't seem to add anything. Then the Mishnah says this is only if the animal is trampling as it walks, without any kavana to be mazik. Haisa miva'etes. If the animal is kicking with its feet because it's getting wild and it's doing it with a intention to damage. Or as the animal is walking, so there are pebbles that it kicks and flies from beneath its feet, and then v'shovra sakelim, and that's how it broke dishes or vessels. Mishalom chatzi nezek. So for both of these, you only pay chatzi nezek. So when it's miva'etes, it's not a toilda of regel, it's a toilda of keren, so you pay only half. And by tzreiris, as we hear, that's the sugya that we're going to see here in the Gemara now, the whole sugya of tzreiris, as we learned already before, tzreiris, according to one opinion, it's a tolda of regel, but it's different. It's not direct damage of the body of the animal itself. The feet of the animal kick the pebbles, and then the koyach of that goes and it breaks a vessel. So therefore for that, as Allah Moshe Misina, they only pay chatzi nezek. And Rashi says that the payment for this would only be if it happens in the private property of the nizik. That's b'chlal the halacha regarding regal. You don't pay in reshus harabim. You only pay if it happens in someone else's private property. Another halacha says the Mishnah, Dar Sala Kelev Shavrasai, if the animal stepped on Kalim and it broke it, V'nafal al Keli, and now this first Keli fell onto another Keli, V'shavrai, and it broke a second Keli. So the animal directly broke the first Keli, but then that first Keli went and fell on a second Keli and broke another Keli. So Alarishay Mishal Nezek Shalim. For the first Keli, you pay full damage because that's regal, that the animal with its feet trampled and broke it. But Vala Achrain, on the second Keli that it broke, Mishal Chatzi Nezek, that's already like tzreiris, just like when pebbles fly, the first Keli then fell and broke a second Keli, so for that's only the koyach that comes from what the animal did. It's indirect, so that you only pay Chatzi Nezek. Hatarnagailim, the chickens, Mu'adin Lahalach Kedarkan, they are also mu'ad, they go, they walk, they trample and they break as they walk, L'shaber, so you chai for that like it's a tolda of regal. If the chicken had a string tied to its feet, it was jumping, dancing around, and it broke kalim. So then, mishalom chatzi nezek. For this, you pay chatzi nezek, because what it's talking about over here is that it's not the feet of the chicken itself that broke, but it was this string that caused it. Or when it was dancing around and it didn't directly break the dishes, but it caused other pebbles to break. So then, that's the halacha of tzreiris, that you pay only chatzi nezek. Dr. Gemara, Amalei Ravina l'Rave, Ravina says to Rave. The first, as I mentioned, the opening of the Mishnah, the first two lines is redundant. Hainu regel, hainu beheme. The Mishnah says that regel breaks b'derech hilucha when it tramples, and then it says the same thing afterwards, that a beheme breaks b'derech hilucha. What is it adding? Amalei, so he answered him, Tana ovis. First it says that the regel, when it tramples with its feet, that's the av, which it says mefurish in the Torah, and then the Katani told us. And then afterwards when it says beheme is already the Torah. This is what was mentioned in the beginning of the Masechta on Daf Gimel. What's the Torah of regel? If the animal with its body, while it was walking, it bumped into things with different ways. We'll see soon. The Gemara will bring again the different things that are the Torah of regel, not with its feet, but other parts of its body. As it was walking, it broke things. That's what it meant in the second line of the Mishnah, that the behem is muedes to break while it goes, not only with the feet. It means any other part of the body of the animal. So that's why the Mishnah is saying first the av, and then the Torah. But the Gemara asks,
the same words.
But it doesn't. But in the second one, though, behemoth doesn't mention regel. That's the difference. The first it says regel, then it says habehemoth lahalach kedarkav l'shabe. As it walks, the behemoth will cause things to break with other parts of its body, not only its feet. That's the Torah. But the Gemara asks, there's another Mishnah later, right here, the next Mishnah in the Perek, where it's a similar thing. Elamayata Sefer Diktani in the next Mishnah over there it says Hashem Muedes, and then over there it says that the Shein is Muedes. What's the Shein Mued for? To eat. Over there it says Lechol Esaroila. And then right afterwards, the next line it says Al Behema Muedes Lechol Peres V'Yirakis. It repeats the same thing. It says that the Behema is Muedes to eat. So over there, when it says Shein, it says eating, and when it says Behema, it also says eating. My Yavis and my Tolda Zikke. Over here, since by both it says eating, so you can't say one is a Av and one is a Tolda. There is a Tolda of shame, things that the animal damages and it has Hana by damaging. But over there it clearly says by shame and by when it says again Beheme, by both it says it's eating. So why is it repeating it? There's no Av and Tolda here. So, so Rave answered Ravina in a humorous manner, and he told him, you asked me the question about our Mishnah here in the beginning of the Perek, and I answered you regarding this one Mishnah. So how about you answer regarding the second Mishnah? You answer one Mishnah as well. So the time in my eyes, what's Taka the Pshat? What's the reason over there in that Mishnah? So it doesn't look like Ravina answered this. So Ravashi answered and he said, Tane Shein the Chaya. In that Mishnah, The first time when it says that the shein is mu'edes to eat, it's not talking about an animal, it's talking about wild beasts that eat, that when it eats, that's the hezek of shein, and then the katani shen the behemoth. And then it says an animal, a domesticated animal that eats. So that's the two things that the Mishnah is saying there. Now, why does it have to say both things? Because I would think to say, what does it say in the Torah? A person he sends out his animal. It's talking about a behemoth, a domesticated animal. So maybe the nezek of shein is only by an animal, not by a wild beast. Kamash Malon. Therefore, the Mishnah has to say the chaya b'chlal behemoth. That when the Torah talks about a behemoth, a chaya, a wild beast, is also included in a behemoth. As Rashi says, you see in the parsha where it speaks about the behemoths that are kosher and not kosher, it says there's zeisa behemoth shetoichlu, and then it mentions chayas as well. Ayal tzvi v'yachmor. Chaya is part of behemoth. That's the chiddush of that Mishnah. But the Gemara asks on this pshat, Ihachi ha mi bayele lemisna bereisha. It should have said behemoth first. Behemoth is the one that's mefurish in the pasuk. V'shilach as be'iroi, which is a behemoth. Chaya is the chiddush, and it's not mefurish in the pasuk. But according to this pshat, when it says first shein, it means the chaya. Then afterwards, the Mishnah says behemoth, and that's the one that's mefurish in the pasuk. Why does it say it in this order? And says the Gemara that hay da'asya midrasha, the one that we learn out from a drasha, the one that's not clear in the pasuk, but we Chazal expounded it and learned it out, chavivale. That's more beloved to the Tana, that Chazal figured this out and learned this out. Therefore, it says first chaya. So the Gemara asks, if that's the case, Yihachi Reisha Nami over here in our Mishnah regarding regel as well. Listen, over here, what did we explain regarding in our Mishnah? What was the explanation for the repetition? It's saying first the av and then the tolda. But if you're telling me that the Tana's Seder is that he wants to tell you something that he learned out, which is more chaviv, he says that first, so it should say the Tolda first. Says the Gemara, you can't compare. Hachi hashta, how could you compare? Hasam idividi ovis ninu. Over there, whether the behemoth is eating, whether the chaya is eating, they're both considered to be ovis. So therefore, if they're both ovis, so then you could put the one that's the drasha first. Hachta asle midrasha chavivale, the one that's a drasha and it's more beloved, so he mentions that first. But hacha over here, it's not only that one says in the pasuk and one doesn't. One is a av and one is a tolda. You can never put the tolda before of av. The child doesn't come before the father. So over here as well, hacha shavik av etani tolda. Would you want the Mishnah should not say the av first the tolda and then the av? You can't do that. Another pshat, ID the salik meregel pasach beregel, because this is a hamshach really to the Mishnah in the previous Perek. As I mentioned, this is a hamshach to the Mishnah on Daf Tes Bava Mid Beis. Over there it says regel moedes. So because there mentioned the regel first, so it begins with ketza the regel, and then it goes on to the tolda, which is behemoth. Okay, that's the explanation of the first two lines of the Mishnah. Now the Gemara, this is the sugya of tzreiris, which we'll discuss. Bring the Braisa and then the discussion about this payment of tzreiris. Taner Rabbanon, beheme, muedes, lahalach, kedarka. A beheme is a mued, that this is usual for it, that as it walks, it tramples, v'leshabit, and it breaks. Ketzad, beheme, shenichnesil chatzar nizik. A beheme that goes into the private property of a nizik. That's regal. Shein, regal is only in his private property. Vizika, and a damage, begufa, with its body, derech hilucha, as it's walking. So not only with its feet, even with any other part of its body. Or besaira, with its hairs, that chilucha, something got entangled in its hairs and it broke it. Bo'okiv shalel, with the saddle, b'shlif shalel, a package is on it, b'prumbi yeshabipia, a bit that it has in its mouth from the harness, or b'zuk shabitzavara, or a bell, and b'chamar, the same with a donkey, b'masoi, that has a package on it, mishalim nezik shalim. So for all of this is a tolda of regel, and you pay nezik shalim. Sumchis says tzreiris, if the behemoth kicks up pebbles and those pebbles go on damage, or v'chazer shehaya noiver ba'ashpa, or a chazer that was snorting with its nose in the garbage and it caused damage, v'hizik, and it damages, mishalim nezik shalim. So for both of these, Sumchis says that you still pay full damage. That's the case. So Sumchis actually holds, even for tzreiris, you do pay full damage. So the Gemara just clarifies here the pshat of what it said regarding the chazer, hizik, that the chazer that was going with its nose in the garbage and it was mazik, so you pay full pay, pshita. It's obvious why. Why should it not? Ela eme, this case that it said here about chazer is another example similar to tzreiris. And what it means is, hit is v'hizik, mishalim nezik shalim. that this chazer that went and with its nose, it caused the pebbles to go and fly, and then the pebbles damaged, still, Sumcha says for tzreitis, whether the animal kicked up the pebbles with its feet or this chazer with its nose, you pay nezek shalim. Now, so the Gemara explains what's the pshat in this brayse. It starts off talking about the different things about how the animal is mazik with its body, and then all of a sudden it's talking about Sumchas comes and says Sumchas argues and speaks about tzreitis. What Sumchas arguing on? No, the Tana Kama didn't even mention this. So the Gemara says tzreitis man dechar shemayu. Why is Sumchas coming and arguing and speaking about tzreitis if the Tana Kama never mentioned a word about this? And says the Gemara Chsure Mechsere, so it's missing in this Brayse Vachi Ketani. This is how you have to learn. Tzreitis ki orchayu chatzi nezek. Tzreitis, when the animal is walking on its way, regular, it's not having any intention to damage, and it kicks up these pebbles, but still you only pay chatzi nezek, as the Gemara is going to bring soon. This is the halacha of tzreitis, halacha la Moshe Misinai. And v'chazer shayu neve ba'ashpa v'hittis v'hizik. It's also similar to tzreitis. The chazer does it with its nose. Also chatzi nezek, only half pay. Sumchas aimer, and that's on Sumchas arguing on that and says no. Tzreitis v'chazer shayu neve ba'ashpa v'hittis v'hizik. You still pay mishalim nezek shalim. It's the same like with the animal damage with its body. When it damages by kicking up pebbles and then it damages, even though it's only coming as a secondary, it's a koyach of the animal. Still, it's the same pay of nezek shalim. Tana Rabbana, we learned in another brayse about this. Tana Galan shoyim africhim mimakim lamakim. If they were chickens, they were flying from place to place. V'shavru kelim b'chamfeim, and they broke vessels with their wings directly. So mishalim nezek shalim. You pay nezek shalim for this. That's the direct damage from the body of the chicken. Beruach sheb'kamfein. However, if it was flying and then it was the wind that it caused with its wings, so then it's from the koyach that came from its body, not direct. That's similar to tzreitis. Mishal mechatzi nezek. For that you only pay half. But Sumchas aimer, that it's the same nezek shalim. You pay full pay for tzreitis and therefore for the wind that causes the damage as well. Tanya we learned in another brayse. Tana garden shoy mahatzen al gabi isa. The chickens, they were dancing around on dough, al gabi peiris, or on fruits v'tinfu, and they made it dirty, or nikru, they were pecking in it. Mishalim nezek shalim. So this is a direct damage with its body, so it pays full pay. Hello, but if the chickens were dancing around in the dirt and it brought up this dirt or pebbles, so for that you only pay chatzi nezek. However, Sumchas argues and says no, you pay nezek shalim, you pay full pay. Another brayse Tanya we learned Tana go shoyim africh mimakom lamakom, a chicken flying from place to place. And it causes a wind that comes out from its wings. And the wind breaks the vessels. You only pay chatzi nezek. That's a stam brayse, and here it doesn't even bring the argument of Sumchis. So the Gemara says, Stame kirabana. This is a stam brayse like Rabbana's opinion. Now the Gemara explains the source of Rabbana's opinion. Omar Rave, so Rave says, we can understand why Sumchis says that even for tzreitis you still pay full pay, because kasava. Sumchas holds, what the animal causes damage, what it does with the something that comes secondary from what it did, is just like it's doing it with its body itself. So therefore, the koyach is like the guf, it caused it directly, so you pay nezek shalim just like when it caused with its body. Dami, it's the same thing. El Rabbanon, but the question is, why do Rabbanon say that you pay only half? If the koyach that the animal caused to this damage is like when it damages with its body, so you should pay the same full pay. And if it's not like the damage that happens from the body itself, so you shouldn't even pay half pay either. So then Rava says,
Why not half?
Because it's
Where does it come from?
But the Torah is mechayiv only for the shein v'regel that comes from the body of the animal. If it's not from the body of the animal, that the Torah is not mechayiv. So for that you potter. But then Hadam Rava says loilam kegufei dami. That really the chatzi nezek over here is a special chiddush that the Torah was makel. It's Allah Moshe Misina, because really he agrees to the concept that Sumcha says that what the animal damages with its body and when it kicks up pebbles and it's only the koyach, it's the same thing. The fact that you only pay half, that's Allah Moshe Misina that brought the payment down only to half. Omar Rav said as follows.
Does Allah Moshe have a cam?
Yeah, I mean, after all, it's only the koyach, it's not the guf. So, okay, chanabi, but that's together though. The concept of chatzi nezek is the koyach of the animal, not the guf. Omar Rava says, Kol shebizov tameh. Anytime that a zav, when he does this, he causes tumah, b'nizakim mishalem, nezek shalem. So by nizakim you have to pay nezek shalem. When does a zav cause tumah? So that's when a zav touches directly, when it's direct contact. So similar, when an animal damages with direct contact of its body, so then that kind of damage it plays nezek shalem. Kol shebezav tahir. If this is a kind of contact that by a zav it would be tahir. So for example, by a zav, if he takes an object and he throws it on something, so there's no direct contact to the zav, so then it'll be tahir. So similar, if the animal did not have direct contact to the vessel that broke, rather it just kicked a pebble, and that pebble flew and broke this vessel, so over here this is tzreiris, and you pay only half. So the Gemara asks on this, it sounds like, what's Rava coming to say here? This example, this comparison to Tumah, what was the Chiddush of Rava was saying? Is Rava, by making this comparison to Tumah, is he just telling me the basic halacha that we already know, that the Rabbanan said that you pay chatzi nezek? Is that what Rava is coming to teach me? Says the Gemara, loy, rather not. Actually, there's another pshat here. Rava is coming to say a big Chiddush. Rava egla moisheches b'korein kamashmalan. Rav is coming to tell me a chiddush of a halacha that if you have a wagon and it's being pulled by an animal and this wagon rides over kalim and it breaks it. So in such a case, you would think that what should be the halacha? The animal that's pulling this wagon is not breaking these vessels directly. It's the wagon that's going over it and that's breaking it. So maybe you should only be chayiv to pay chatzi nezek. That's why Rav is saying that we learn out from a zav. What's the halacha by a zav? If a zav sits inside a wagon and that wagon goes over something, so it actually becomes tameh. That's what's called tumas medris. When you wait and is on something that you go over, it becomes tameh. So over here, Rav was saying this chiddush that when the wagon that's being pulled by an animal breaks kalim, you have to pay nezek shalem. And it's not chatzi nezek. That was the chiddush of Rav. So the Gemara brings a brayse that says this as well. Tanya Kava said that we learned like Rav and a brayse. So the beginning of the brayse is the same as we brought already before, but in the end of the brayse it adds this as well. So the brayse goes through the whole list over here. Behema breaks as it goes. It went into the private property of the nizik. V'izika, whether it was begufa with its body, derech hilucha b'sayra, derech hilucha b'uchiv shaleh, b'shliv shaleh, b'prum b'yisha b'pir, b'zug sheb'tzavara, v'chamay b'masay, v'egla mish. And here it adds to what we had before. Ve'eglo mishachas b'korain. If you have a calf that's pulling a wagon, and the wagon is what trampled and broke the kalim, mishalem nezek shalem. You pay full pay for this.
Over here, what's the connection between tummy and the teres is?
So
there's
no real connection. He was just bringing out this halacha in an interesting way. He was just showing you just by tumah, when the zav sits inside the wagon, so his weight goes on it, and that it becomes tameh. So similar over here, you're going to be chayiv nezek shalim. Tana Rabbanan, we learned in the Brayse as follows: Tana Goylim shoy mechatetim bechevel deli, chickens that were pecking at the rope of a bucket, yeah. And then what happened? The nifsaka chevel, and then the rope snapped. V'nishbaradli, and this bucket broke. So they didn't directly break the dli; they just were pecking at the chevel. Nevertheless, mishalman nezek shalem. For this, you do have to pay full pay. Okay, this needs an explanation. This is going to be explained in the next daf. Now, the Gemara first brings another Ibaya here. Rav asked the following Ibaya. Darsal keli. What's with an animal that trampled, it stepped on a keli, but it didn't break the keli, but rather what happened was, by stepping on it, it caused it to roll somewhere else, and then v'nishbar. And then when it rolled somewhere else, then it fell and it broke. Mahu. What's going to be the halacha here? Do you pay nezek shalim or chatzi nezek? What's the shaila? Do I say basame karas linon? I go by how this damage began, and therefore v'gufeyu. In the beginning, what happened is the animal actually stepped on this vessel, so therefore it's direct damage from the body of the animal itself, and then you pay nezek shalim. You should follow the time, what happened at the end, how it actually broke. It didn't actually break directly from the impact of the foot of the animal. It broke from the impact where it rolled later in it, and it broke. It's tzreiris. So therefore, that's a secondary thing that happened, and that's tzreiris, which only comes from the koyach of the animal, that it caused it to roll and break later. So you should only pay chatzi nezek. Says the Gemara Text, you can be paished this shaila from what Rabbi said. Because Rabbi said the following halacha: Zara keli mirosh hagag. A person threw a vessel from a rooftop, and then on its way down, someone else takes a stick and breaks it before it lands. Pater. The second person is pater. Why? We tell the first person you have to pay because mana tvira tava. The second person didn't break it. He broke something that was already broken when it was heading down already. So from the koyach that you threw it down, it was so if you look at the beginning of the damage, it's already a damaged keli. It was going to break. So the fact that someone else broke it afterwards, he's not chayiv. So what do you see from here? When something gets damaged, you don't look at the way it got damaged in the end. Since at the beginning you threw it down, it was already destined to break, so then it's already considered to be broken by then. So the same thing you should say over here with the animal that kicked this keli, even though it didn't break right away, but as he kicked it directly with the impact of his foot, it was destined to break. So you don't look at how it actually broke at the end when it had an impact on the ground somewhere. You go according to the beginning where the animal kicked it, and therefore you should be chayav to pay nezek shalim. So the Gemara says on this, according to Rabbi, this was taka obvious to him that you go according to the beginning and it's considered to be already like broken from the beginning. But according to Rabbi, this remains an ibaya. And the Gemara here is going to go through different tashamas to bring a raya to this shaila, as we'll see in Mitzvah Shem.